It's the Growler with PD&Jay. Here to analyze for you today. From Growler Bet to Jay's got stats. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growler Podcast.
All right, welcome to the latest edition of PD&Jay on the Growler. Paulina Jr., Jay Morrison. Excited to be with you, Jay. We're recording a little early today. It's like a little coffee talk here with the boys this morning.
Yeah, well, a little late / early because we're on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, but we are earlier in the morning.
Yeah. I hope people go back and check out the rewatch that Charlie and I did on Monday. We went through all of the rookies. And also, we spent a little bit of the time at the beginning with a sort of a quick reaction to the Joe Burrow returning news that had popped off that day. So that episode is up there on the feed if you want to get a little bit more of a dive there and a touch of Burrow. But we're going to go a little bit more into the Burrow news and some of the fallout, some of the things we heard from him in the press conference this week. So we'll touch on that here for you today. You're going to hear from Joe Burrow, including Jay's very telling back and forth with him that didn't involve a lot of words from Joe Burrow, but didn't need to.
No.
And so we're going to go through some of that stuff there, some other news going on with the team, including Trey Hendrickson. There's obviously fallout from that. I want us to also, we're going to bring in Mike DeFabo from The Athletic, who covers the Steelers for The Athletic, and also his partner Jenna Harner, who covers the Steelers for WPXI on the Yinziders podcast. We did like a crossover yesterday where I was on with them, and I peppered them with some questions about the Steelers in the middle of that. So I'm going to bring you some of their conversation, but it's a kind of a good entry point for us to talk a little bit more about the AFC North in here. It's the Bengals' path to the end, path to staying alive right now, Jay. And so we're going to see, let's talk about like how realistic that is. I know you've got some stats on that. I've even got some stats on that.
Good.
Yeah, I come prepared. We've got other stats from you, Growler Bet, ARBIES this week, all of the things that you come expect from us here at PD&J. Jay, did you have fun at our live 1 p.m. watch along at MGM? I had a great time.
I did. I had a blast. I thank you to everybody that came out. Josh came out and with his wife, and it was good to see him. And that's going to be my ARBIES is going to be something from that, so I'll save that. But yeah, it was a blast. I just like watching you. You had this great idea that we would give away a prize every time we had 7 games on. Every time there was a touchdown, and you're trying to like work the room and talk to people, and it's like there's a touchdown, they were just popping off right and left. You had to keep jumping up and spinning the wheel, and but it was good. It was a very good time, and shout out to the wait staff there too. A lot of people in that room, and they did a good job of keeping everybody's drinks full and getting them the food when they were hungry.
Yeah, it was a great time. I certainly appreciate everybody that helped out with that. Yeah, maybe a prize every touchdown was a little misguided by me. No doubt. I mean, not a great calculation. It definitely kept. We gave away a lot of prizes.
We had the prizes to give away, but it was rapid fire.
We gave away a lot of prizes, and we did it real fast because there was a lot of touchdowns in the front half of the 1 p.m. window. It was a great time. That VIP room is awesome. I can't recommend it enough. If you want to go, if you have something like that where there's a bunch of games on, whether it's a college football time or like a 1 o'clock, a 4 o'clock window with the NFL, or just a bunch of games happening that you want to see. It's cool that they will let you set up the screens however you'd like. You get one giant screen. There's screens all over the place. You have your own bar. You've got big couches and like room to hang out. Like it's just a cool space to do something like that where you can just like really take in a bunch of games at one time. It's kind of your own personal sports book. I can't recommend it. If you have an opportunity, you should check out the VIP room. It was awesome. All right. My parlay boost did not hit this time.
No, sadly.
That special teams touchdowns really were problematic for the under and the Browns winning that game. That's it.
That was the difference.
Sometimes crazy things happen like that, and I could not have anticipated everything else. the Jets offense being bad, the Browns being just good enough was kind of happening, but that's all right. It's all right. You can't win them all, even though I try to. I did want to point out multiple emailers and somebody at our live show was pointing out that Ron Torbert was kind of doing his thing at the show. I said, Ron Torbert. So I do want to thank everybody that dropped in some emails about Ron Torbert. I love that, like, when people see him on their screen doing something silly, like they immediately think of us. I have to email the show, or somebody in the room is like, Paul, look, Ron Torbert's being dumb. Like, it's just, I'm glad that we're associated with Ron Torbert at this point.
Yeah, I knew he was. I couldn't remember which game it was. I knew he was doing one of those 1 o'clock games, and then I finally saw him pop up on the screen in the Buffalo Miami game.
Yeah, one emailer even said that their 2-year-old called him Grandpa. look, it's Grandpa. And I'm like, okay, does kind of look like a grandpa. All right, let's get to some news. Joe Burrow returns to practice on Monday and also spoke to us for the first time since his injury back in week 2. Let's start here, Jay, with the question is, okay, well, when's he going to come back? What does this even look like? Okay, he's back way earlier. To me, I looked at it as sort of the big reveal more than anything. This was, hey, everybody, guess what? Joe's rehab has been going better than we've ever let on. We tried to be quiet about it. No one wanted to talk about that. But now that he's back to practice, we can tell you his timeline is very much ahead of schedule. Okay, that's fine. But what does that really mean? When does he want to play? And I think we should start where, after many questions and a lot of dancing around, it felt like we finally landed on the question and the answer that we needed in terms of when Joe Burrow thinks he should or could be back.
21 days from today would be 4 days after Thanksgiving. How meaningful would it be to, given your history in Baltimore, being a division game, to come back for that game?
Very.
Is that your target?
We'll see. We'll see how these next couple weeks go.
You know, there's like this half smirk that happens after you ask the target question.
Yeah.
Of like, he didn't even need to say anything after that.
He didn't. He paused for a very long time.
But I feel like, Jay, I mean, that kind of points to the fact that Burrow would love to come back on Thanksgiving. He would love that stage, that game, that place, that moment. That would be his preferred return.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I asked that was beyond the calendar, and that'll be 17 days after the 21-day window opens. Was he said a couple of years ago how much he would love to play on Thanksgiving or Christmas, that he always watched those games growing up as a kid, and how much he would love to do that. So not only do you get a chance to do it in the building where he suffered the wrist injury, but it's a primetime game on Thanksgiving. And yeah, that it did see, I thought he would just kind of offer the we'll see. Instead he went with the very for meaningful for coming back for that game. And I think it's important too, that maybe a lot of people don't know the mechanics of this 21-day window. It doesn't mean he has to return within 21 days to action. It just means the Bengals have to take him off of IR and put him on the 53-man roster within 21 days. So if he doesn't play in that Baltimore game, it doesn't mean that he's not coming back. It just means they have to put him on the 53-man roster, which would be the Monday before the Buffalo game, when the deadline to do that is.
Yes. Other thing about Thanksgiving, I mean, it's maybe the top primetime spot on the entire season for the TV networks. I mean, last year they were breaking viewership records on Thanksgiving. Last year, that was a whole big thing. And that's all part of it. Look, Joe lives to entertain. Okay, let's not like he's all about it. Like, he loves the idea of what that looks like. But I also think he's trying to get back and help his team. To me, though, I go to this in terms of, well, what should they do? Because people are saying, okay, if the Bengals lose the next 2 games, we'll shut them down. Why do this? I don't get the impression, Jay, and you can correct me if you feel like you've heard differently. the impression that I get is that if Burrow can play, he's going to play.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to play football. There's no time where him playing football doesn't make sense in his mind. Like, I play football. This is what I do. I want to play. There's always something to play for. This is what I want to do. And so if the doctors say, look, there is an enhanced risk of you coming back and playing, you can re-injure yourself, the toe or whatever, that's a different conversation. I don't necessarily know that that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
When you've had the surgery, right? Like, you've had the surgery, you're coming back. If the point is like it's healthy, it is healed. If the doctors clear him, he should be playing games. And it's like, oh yeah, but what if it doesn't matter? This is the guy. Jay, we've seen this man out on the field when they're down 30 and he's getting 0 blitzed in the fourth quarter in games and refusing to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to come out. This is my team. This is last year when they're 4-8, saying we're going to learn about who the cornerstones of this team are going forward. This is a guy that views himself as the one that goes out there with his team and leads them, whether it's to build momentum for the next year, whether it's because I'm the quarterback and I play. It sort of goes back to the Flacco thing. I'm the quarterback, I play, right? I feel like that is Joe Burrow's mindset. So the idea, now, should the organization come in and shut him down? No. If he wants to play and it's okay, if the doctors say it's good, he's good, there's no extra chance of re-injury here, then Burrow should play, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know who else wants Burrow to play is going to be the coaching staff, because the more wins they get, the better, the more likely the chance that that whole group is back next year. And really, this, beyond Burrow's wanting to do it, I think there's real value in it, in that it can be kind of a learning on the job, or a training experience, because we've talked about this all along. That has he seen things from Joe Flacco that maybe he does there? Maybe he goes under center more. Maybe he understands the importance of getting the ball out quick. That's the play he got hurt on. It was a quick, it was supposed to be a quick game. Wasn't there. He pulls it down, gets sacked, gets hurt. So if he's going to start doing things a little differently based on what he's seen with Flacco in this offense, it only makes sense to give him a 4 or 5 game ramp up at the end of the year, whether the playoffs are in reach or the season's meaningful or not. Those reps, like he says, every rep you get is meaningful. And so I think if the doctors clear him, it's going to be really hard to keep him off the field for any reason.
The one thing about that I want to touch on is that I don't think that him changing the way he plays to be more like Flacco, which, by the way, uninterested in that storyline on Monday.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow. Like, I asked you, everybody was kind of asking about Flacco and what he thinks about the way that he's been playing, and that was a non-starter. A lot of things were non-starters with Joe, which is just as much part of the story there as anything else. But like, I just think that he doesn't need reps to play that way. I think that's a conscious decision, more so than it is one that requires muscle memory. Like, I just maybe I'm off on that. I just feel like it's more mental of him deciding, all right, I'm going to go out there and be a little less willing to take off when it doesn't totally matter, unless it's third and whatever, or like when he talks about taking sacks, like view it through the same light as that. Like, if it's a time where it's okay to take a sack, but otherwise just get rid of the ball and don't try to be a hero all the time. I mean, okay, I think there's something to be said, but I think that's more of him just mentally deciding to do that, because he's done and seen so much. I think he knows what that could look like. He just kind of chooses not to. So I don't think changing the way he plays is as much about, something that he needs to go out there and feel what that's like. I think it's just he needs to decide if he wants to or not. He might not have any interest in that. He might.
The bigger piece might be the under center stuff, where get him under center a lot more and get him a little more comfortable with that. And you see what this run game has done when they've gone under center more and really leaned into the play action. So that part of it, I definitely think the more reps would help.
You know they need to lean more into play action, Jay. I can't let an episode go where I don't say that.
Everybody knows it.
Got to do it more. Huge
Yep.
chunks. All they do is get huge chunks every time they do it. I asked Pitch about that the other day. About like, look, when you're getting these huge chunks, but they're just not doing it very much. And his point was like, yeah, he's like, there's a debate there. Like, are you getting the chunks because they come as a surprise, how often you do them, or is it actually work? I think it's time to find out.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can do it more as we kind of analyze the offense. But back to Burrow. I think this kind of comes down to the Thanksgiving thing a little bit, where it's like, okay, that feels a little early. We don't know. Again, he's practiced once. What did you think about what you saw in terms of what he was doing in practice? I thought that was pretty impressive. Because sometimes you see returning in a limited capacity. It's like, okay, he's going to be out there. Maybe he's like, hopping around a little bit. I mean, he was doing normal Burrow practice stuff. He was jogging. He's apparently been running for a couple of weeks. He was kind of doing. He was throwing. He was moving in the pocket. It's like I was actually pretty surprised to see what he was doing.
Yeah, and I mean, he talked about the stabilization element. He didn't go into too much details, but the special cleat that he's wearing to kind of protect the toe. And he said too that kind of like an ACL, where the planting and the cutting and those kind of things are what are going to give you an issue, and just the straight ahead jogging and dropping back and throwing and that didn't look like it was giving him much trouble, and that's probably a big reason why he is so far ahead on the rehab. I wanted to ask him, but the questions, we haven't talked to him in forever, so the questions were just coming fast and furious. But how do you rehab a toe? Like there's not like little exercises you can do for the toe. I would think it's more about just time and letting it heal than anything. With ACLs, and you do range of motion exercises with the knee and all that, but the toe, I just don't know that there's anything specific you can do to rehab it other than just wait for it to heal. And he has proved to be a pretty fast healer and a hard worker at rehab, so not really surprising to see him back at this point.
It's the crystals, Jay.
Gotta be. Although he kind of poo-pooed the significance of those as well.
Nope. That's what it is. Every hurt athlete everywhere ordering the crystals, that little whatever it was that he put out on his Instagram, the little tower of crystals with the water going through it. Every locker room's gonna have them inside of it now. That's what it is. That must be it. And I'm over here doing toe exercises under the desk, Jay, being like, no, I think you could do it. I'm working my big toe right now. That's what it is. And if there is a toe machine, I'm gonna guess that they now have one at Paycor Stadium. It's the Joe Burrow toe machine. I'm sure they've got one.
There's got to be a toe Burrow
Twitter
account
Burrow machine
somewhere.
So one more thing from the Burrow availability, and it was sort of, what are we going to get? As much as him being back was news, him being in front of the microphone was news. What are we going to get from Joe? Are we going to get him waxing philosophically about the state of the organization? Are we going to get him pointing out, being a motivator? Is he going to be taking shots? Is he going to push the front office? Is he going to? And we got not doing that, right? We got, I am here to get back to this game. I am here to be talking about my rehab and I'm focused. That was the sole focus. I want to bring a little bit of Burrow was asked about the state of the defense. And it's like, where do you want to go? Do you want to go there? And let's really talk about what's happening on the defensive side of the ball so that this doesn't totally really matter that you're back. And here's what Joe had to say.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of football left to be played. So there's a lot there's a lot of blame to go around here, but there's ample opportunity to turn that around. And like I said, I thought, for half of this season, I thought the defense was playing pretty good. And then, the last couple of weeks, I think we've struggled. But, there's good stuff on tape still, and they put that on tape. You saw it early in the year. So you just got to get back to playing complementary defense and getting pressure and covering and putting guys in good spots. I think there's plenty of opportunity, and we have all the talent in that locker room to make those changes.
Plenty of opportunity, Jay. Did you think he would be a little more blunt in his assessment of the way things have been going since he has left, or did you feel like this was par for the course what you expected?
No, that's what I expected. Because the one thing they can't have is the offense turning on the defense, and if he goes up there and kind of lights into the defense, we know everybody follows his lead, so that would give other offensive guys kind of feeling like they have, free reign to say what they're really thinking about the defense. So that was what I kind of expected. I did. The interesting one was plenty of blame to go around. I don't think he's just necessarily talking about the players. Maybe some of the coaching, maybe some of the front office. Everybody's got their hand in this, and I think that's where that comment came from. But I didn't expect him to go up there and say basically the defense has to get their shit together.
Yeah, but they do.
They do,
and that's why the take I've been repeating wherever I've been asked about this has been the same. The biggest news Monday wasn't about Joe Burrow's return. It was that Trey Hendrickson's already doubtful for Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the hero they need.
Yep.
It's like 9 is doing his hero thing, but the real hero they need is 91. And because they need anybody that can come in and make a play defensively, and right, because they just don't have it. Because it's going to happen. It's going to be Sunday at 3:45 p.m. and the Bengals are going to be up a couple of points, and they're going to need a stop in the fourth quarter, and they're going to have nobody to get home. And it's just, this is the problem, because we're going to talk a lot more about the AFC North here in a minute. But the fact that there was no playing the game with Trey Hendrickson here we're going to see how he is through the week. And then on Friday we get the final. Like, that's usually, they love to drag it along. Why say anything specifically if you don't have to? This was the Monday doubtful not happening, which is just, you hoped with the bye and everything else, he had been able to kind of come back before. You heard from you heard from Trey Hendrickson, but before the bye, we brought you some of that audio and we told you stuff that he said to us, where he's like, he felt like maybe he came back a little early last time, but he was able to come back. I don't know. I don't know what's happening here, and it's hard because it's easy to speculate what this is. Trey has a hurt hip, back. He's the one that can tell us how that feels. That's at his discretion. All I know is the team really needs him right now, and he's not going to be able to play. And no one, these are players, man. Like, this is their lives, this is their body, it's their livelihood. And the Bengals could have set this up contractually to make him maybe feel, we've talked about this with T in the past, to maybe feel like, okay, you're a little more willing to go out there and play through pain for this team. Trey isn't at that point, and he may not be able to. But I just thought it was interesting and telling that it's already off the table. Doubtful.
Yeah, and maybe he's told him that he's not coming back till he's 100%, and they know he won't be 100% by Sunday. But you're right. You don't want to speculate, but man, it sure is starting to feel like 2019 AJ Green with the ankle. And could he play? Probably. Did he?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. And again, it's a very gray place for us, because it's a natural place that your head goes in these types of situations.
Right.
I'm not doubting that Trey is hurt, but it becomes a willingness. We call them business decisions. Is he making business decisions? Is he not? Only Trey knows that. Only Trey really knows if he is. And nobody's going to hate on him for looking out for his own personal well-being, the same way the Bengals have looked out for themselves through this process too. But, the one thing you cannot question is that Bengals desperately need him to go out there and play. Absolutely. And maybe his point would be, you're not getting the real me. You're getting a half me. I would say
better than what they got.
Is better than what they're putting out there. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Because this game matters in a huge way. And we're going to get to that when we talk to the Yinziders. But before we get to the Yinziders, it's RPB time, Jay. You mentioned it was great to see Josh. Josh was down hanging out at the live show at BetMGM on Sunday. Had a blast seeing him and his wife. They've got a young baby that they were able to get a little tiny break from. So they're second. So they were deep in it. I'm sure it was good for them to take a little bit of a break. But Josh, always great to see his face in person or just here in cartoon form. As the judge and jury of RPB. If you have a run past or boot that you want him to choose from and decide which one was the best for the week, send it to Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. He will pick and forward it. Josh isn't your average agent. He's a certified insurance and risk professional who helps business owners protect what they've built and plan for what's next. So if you own a small business, reach out to Josh and ensure peace of mind that you have the best coverage that's available. His mission is to empower you to live your best life with confidence, knowing that your coverage makes sense. And Josh is giving back to the Growl Pals. If you haven't heard, the time is running down on you here. Okay. He is giving away 2 tickets to Bengals versus Ravens, the home game, not the Thanksgiving. We joked, as we've talked about this all year, you could go see Burrow versus Lamar, and it was like, well, maybe you'll see Browning versus Rush. And then now it's back to, hey, I think it might be Burrow versus Lamar again.
Yeah.
Like, we might be back. We might be back in this one. But he's giving away 2 tickets. All you got to do is request a free, no obligation quote. You don't have to buy anything, and you're entered to win. You just enter for a chance to win some seats and make sure your coverage actually makes sense. This is all good. Link to enter is found in the show notes, or you can just go to our website, thegrowlerpodcast.com, and you can see the spot to enter there with the Camargo Insurance header. Okay, so if you're ready for simple personal insurance handled by someone who is a trusted Growl Pal, reach out to Josh at Camargo, Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. RPB chosen this week is from Daniel Ratcliffe. His question was, what is most likely out of these 3? The Bengals extend Joe Burrow beyond his current contract, the Bengals hire an official GM before the year 2030, the Bengals have one season where its defense is 15th or better in DVOA before 2030. So, Burrow extension, Bengals hire a GM, defense is in the top half of the league. Run, pass, or boot.
Well, I think you have to boot the GM. That's just I just don't see them ever doing that. Even if no, I'm just booting it. It doesn't, even if they were to fire Duke, which I don't think is going to happen, they just plug somebody else in as director of player personnel. I don't think you're ever going to see this team, even after Mike is gone. I don't think you're going to see them hire a GM. So I'm booting that one easy. I guess I'll have to run, as crazy as it sounds, but I'll run. At some point, the defense has to get in the top half of the league. You got 4 years to do it. 26, 27, 28, 29. It's going to be a long rebuild, but 4 years is a long time. I think they can do that, and that's not a high bar to get in the top half of the league. So I'll run with that one. I'll pass on the Burrow extension just because it makes all the sense in the world, and you see how late quarterbacks are playing into their 30s and early 40s now. But his injury history, the financial ramifications, there's a lot of things that could trip that up. So that's the reason I won't run with that one. I'll pass that one, and then again, just boot the GM.
I feel like usually we see these things pretty similarly, Jay, but I don't this time. I see it differently. Well, first of all, yeah, I will run with the defense. I mean, 4 years, that's the difference between the Super Bowl year and this year. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot happens.
Right.
A lot can change. And if this was top 5, I think I probably should have changed this. Maybe I should have tinkered. I should have edited Daniel's question and made it maybe top 5. Could they get back to a top 5 defense? I think then I feel like this would feel different, but I'll run with the defense. But I'm going to pass. I'm going to say the official GM before 2030 is more likely than a Burrow extension. Well, one, if we're counting Duke Tobin maybe getting the GM title, I don't think that's impossible. I do think, I hate talking about this because if they were now and Mike was not around, I do think that there's an obvious, okay, let's restructure and retitle. That has to happen organizationally. It just does. And I think Duke is the GM. He has 3 assistant general managers, Jay. So no one's debating, I don't think even internally, that's probably the title that he should have or does have. That's why we use de facto, just because it's just the way it is. I think that could happen, especially if you're including Duke in there. But even if you're not, I think if they did move on, I do think that would be for the general manager position. I think that would be a hire for GM if they did do that. And a Burrow extension, I mean, I just don't think that they're going to be ready to go there. It's hard. I mean, they're close, but I just think they're going to have to go win something before that becomes something that everybody's ready to sign up for, right? I'm not saying that Burrow's ready to leave. I'm not going to go Schefter on ESPN like, who the Jets should trade. Their arms wars happening for Burrow. I'm not doing that. I'm saying that I think that everybody wanting to continue to sign up for this is probably based around them winning games and winning something big, and it looking like they can win something big here and not to look like it's looked the last 2 years. So I'm going to boot the Burrow extension on this one here. And so yeah, we see it a little bit differently usually, but this is a good one, Daniel. I like this one, and a great choice from Josh to pick it, because I think that, especially if I would have moved that DVOA, I think you could put all 3 of these pretty close to each other. All right. Reminder, Bengals Ravens tickets can be yours. The giveaway form is in the show notes or at thegrowlerpodcast.com. Just takes 2 minutes. You don't have to buy anything at all. And then you have a chance to win tickets to go see Bengals Ravens. Burrow Jackson. It could be. Maybe. Your odds are great, though, to do it. So sign up today. All right, Jay, gave Mo a break this week. A little time out. We did a full show on Duke Tobin last week. If you want to get the full conversation from that, go back and check that out in the feed. If you want to go listen to my hour I did with him at Oakley Greens yesterday, we touched on a ton of stuff. Some of it would be repeated material that you just heard me do. But him and I had a really great conversation there about everything going on with the Bengals. So you can check all that out. But Mo will be back next week. Just a little time out for him. But in his place, we want to talk a little bit more extensively about this Steelers game. Coming off the bye, focus is quickly turned to a game that is feeling like a make or break one over the course of this Bengals season. So let's dive into it. To do so, I did a crossover episode with the Yinziders podcast, which is run by Mike DeFabo, who covers the Steelers for The Athletic, and his wife, Jenna Harner, who covers the Steelers for WPXI in Pittsburgh. They have a podcast. This is a portion of the clip where I turned it on them. I talked with them about all kinds of things Bengals, and then I started asking them some questions about what the heck is going on in Pittsburgh. And so I'm going to bring you a portion of that, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the AFC North. So you tell me, what should we be making of this Aaron Rodgers situation? Is this what people thought would be the inevitable bubbling up, or is this a speed bump, do you think, in sort of just this season for him and Tomlin and the Steelers offense?
Well, what concerns me is, coming into this year, I wrote a story like in training camp. Here are my 4 biggest concerns with this offense. And they were young tackles taking their lumps in pass protection, inconsistent running game, no deep threat or ability to throw the ball deep, and then a no clear-cut number 2 wide receiver, very little chemistry there. And I think in that most recent game, all 4 of those issues to varying degrees reared their ugly head. And so really this offense is like, get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, get it to DK Metcalf, let him create yards after the catch. They basically have one way to beat you, and that's it. And sometimes maybe half the games they've been able to run the ball effectively, half the games they haven't. So, I think that this is really like an inflection point for the Steelers. Is this just a speed bump, or does Rodgers return to form? He's been much better overall throughout this year than I expected and anticipated. But but he's in no way been Hall of Fame level. He's very good for a 41-year-old quarterback. So there is definitely a part of me that wonders if we're going to see a similar story to last year. Like last year at this time, the Steelers were talking about, hey, did they transition tag Russell Wilson? Did they give him $30 million and bring him back? They were thinking along those lines, and then everything went downhill at the end. And they had similar thing happen at the end of the Ben Roethlisberger tenure. I mean, he went 11-0 the one year, but then when teams realized he couldn't throw the ball deep, everything was going to be dink and dunk, they started taking that away. The whole thing collapsed upon itself. So I guess I've just seen this happen before with old quarterbacks. And I kind of feel like we're about to see the same story unfold for a third time of believing the Steelers could support an old quarterback with a highly paid defense and a running game. But ultimately, when you're playing in the NFL and there's, so many other great quarterbacks who can play at such a high level week in and week out, that's enough to get you to 10 wins, but it's probably not enough to be a real contender in the playoffs.
What help me understand is the thought behind what's happened at the end of seasons in Pittsburgh. It's consistent. Obviously, you guys are well aware. What is it, and how? What is is there a pinpointing of why it has happened that just these months have gone so poorly in recent years, or is each one an individual case? Is there a common thread? How is that viewed in Pittsburgh?
Well, I feel like maybe half a decade ago when they made the playoffs and lost in the first round, Art Rooney said, "I'm never going to apologize for making the playoffs." And I think a lot of teams are satisfied with, you make the playoffs. That's a pretty good year. It's not a great year, but you're not a losing football team. You're a winning team. But when you continue to have the same result over and over, just making the playoffs isn't good enough. And so I feel like a lot of fans just feel like the Steelers are stuck in the middle. And it's just the same thing every year. They're going to be 9-8 or 10-7. They're going to make the playoffs and then just get smashed by a team that deserves to be there. And I think that fans generally are pretty fed up with it and kind of tired with seeing the same thing over and over again. I guess you have to defend Mike Tomlin, and in fairness to him, there were a lot of years with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph where they just had Duck Hodges. They had abysmal quarterback play. And it was like if TJ Watt didn't put his cape on and win a game for them, they weren't going to win that game. So you could kind of grade him on a curve there. But when you bring in Aaron Rodgers and when you're trying different things and you're producing similar results, at some point it just has to change and something significant has to happen to shake things up.
Yeah, it seems like we see this same story kind of play out, and you just wonder, when is it going to be different? The one thing that was surprising to me from the first game and since was just kind of the state of the Steelers' defense. I mean, what is happening on that side of the ball? Does it feel closer? I know we see another, it's like Tuesday, the move is coming, and what's this week's fallout? But, is there a sense that it's close to turning around, or does it feel closer to going the other way and spiraling?
I think from what we've seen, it's basically just this team goes as they turn the ball over. If they're going to force a ton of turnovers, if they're creating a ton of splash, if they're, making Daniel Jones fumble twice and throw 3 interceptions, if those were the right numbers, then this team's going to find ways to win and set their offense up in really advantageous situations. The problem is they only have one win this season when they don't force a turnover, and that was the Browns game from earlier this year. So you're not forcing the ball and you're not turning the ball over against the Chargers. You're not winning that game. Any of those recent games that we've seen, and they didn't do it against the Bengals, the Thursday night game either.
Turnovers in that one. Yeah, They've forced 5 turnovers or more, twice, but then they've also allowed 30 points or more 4 times. Yeah. And so it's either it's this Jekyll and Hyde defense. Yeah. You're either going to get TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and all these talented guys that they've paid a ton of money to wrecking the game and producing turnovers, or you're going to have a defense that just can't get off the field on 3 downs. And that's the biggest problem for them right now, is just getting off the field in traditional ways. The one change you're going to see from last game to this game is last game, they really were hoping that Jalen Ramsey could match up head-to-head against T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. And they had basically rebuilt this defense and this secondary to deal with the unique two-headed monster of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Mark Tomlin said as much. He was pretty transparent that that was the motivation behind doing it. Unfortunately, when Darius Slay's 34 years old, Jalen Ramsey's 31, these guys aren't what they once were. And so the big difference you're going to see is now out of necessity, Jalen Ramsey's going to be playing safety. And the Steelers have been operating out of a too high shell a little bit more. So I would expect that to be the case here. So Jalen Ramsey still is going to be a big part of trying to slow down that two-headed monster, but he's going to be doing it from a different position. And, right now Darius Slay is in concussion protocol. If he doesn't play and they have to play James Pierre, good luck. He's been fine for a backup. He's a decent backup, but when your former all-pro guys can't get the job done, your backup sure as hell isn't probably going to get that done.
That was the Yinziders with Jenna and Mike. News came out after we recorded that yesterday, and that was that Asante Samuel signed with the practice squad of the Steelers. So I don't know how quickly he can get acclimated and potentially come in, but obviously they're trying to solve that problem with Samuel, who was hurt and then just got cleared and was kind of doing a little bit of a tour of trying to figure out where he wanted to go and try to land for the second half of the season. Pittsburgh is that place, so perhaps he ends up being part of that answer coming in a corner.
Yeah, and that defense is a huge surprise. And it's funny what they said about the turnovers. I believe it's 4 of the last 5 games. It might even be 5 of the last 6. They have not forced one at all. And then you have the 6 in the middle. The one game where they got turnovers, it was 6. So they do come in crazy bunches like that. But Bengals right there with them. Since week 9? Hold on, I got it right here. Yes, since week 6, the Bengals have 3 forced turnovers. There's only 4 teams that have fewer. So that will, as is usually the case, be a huge key on Sunday afternoon.
It certainly will. One thing that Burrow kind of talked about was, look, the path to getting into the playoffs here is going to be about the AFC North. And right now your standings, you have the Bengals at 3-6, 2 games back at first place Pittsburgh, who is 5-4. You have the Ravens 1 game back of them in between, making their push, obviously, and their schedule ahead is clears up. Lamar's back. Their defense is playing better. The schedule looks easy. They've got a combination of Browns and Jets and Bengals in front of them. Like, they're feeling great in Baltimore. They certainly are the betting favorites and look to be the favorites to try to go win this division. The DVOA numbers, DVOA, Aaron Schatz had this yesterday in terms of their playoff percentage chances for each team. They have the Bengals at 12%, which I actually thought was a positive number, Jay. The 12%, that's pretty high. I see lots of, the less than one symbol. Seen a lot of that. But it is logically and mathematically certainly possible. They had them at a 9% chance to win the North and 3% chance to get a wild card. I mean, this is solely dependent on the things that we've talked about in terms of the defense just has to play better. This is unsustainable what the defense is doing. This is all based around, okay, you have the offense. If your defense can stabilize, if the young players can start to give you a little bit, you can win these games. You see how close they've been the last 2 weeks. Just one stop out of many opportunities. Right. They would be currently in first place going to Pittsburgh, not just playing for first place going to Pittsburgh. But they're not. They're 3-6, and so it's a totally different situation. I'm going to give you some. I have stats, Jay. I know you're going to have stats, but I want to lead off here. So I was curious. Okay, by the numbers, yes, they have a chance. So, let's go back. Let's go all the way back to 2011, and I wanted to look at the AFC North, eventual AFC North champs. And in week 11, where were the eventual AFC North champs in the standings in terms of games back? Were they in the lead? How many times do teams overcome these types of things? The AFC North's in an unusual spot this year. 5-4 for the first place team. Very rare for it to be this accessible for anybody. That said, there was only 1 year, Jay, 1 year that the eventual champion was further than a game out in week 11. That's it. It was 2018 Ravens were 2.5 back and made a run, and the Steelers fell apart. That's it. All the rest of the time, they were either in the lead or within a game. That's where the eventual champ came from every other year. So even by the numbers, it doesn't feel great right now, as Bengals fans are probably all too aware.
Yeah. Where were the Bengals in 2022 when they ripped off 10 in a row at the end of the year? I can't, because I didn't think they ran away with the division that year. So maybe them and
They were 1 game back.
They were 1 game back at this point. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So
Remember 1 game
them and
back.
Baltimore both went on a run then, I guess.
Yes.
That's the year it came down to the canceled game. And
22 was the year where Lamar was out and Snoop Huntley ended up playing some games and ended up beating them. And then, of course, you had the Hubbard yard dash in the playoffs.
Yeah, when we thought it was going to come down to a coin toss.
They didn't have Lamar down the stretch.
Yeah.
And so the Bengals were able to take the division that year.
The funny thing is, so they're 2 games out of the division lead. They're also only 2 games out of the 7th seed. And that belongs to Jacksonville, who they have a win against. So they would win that head-to-head. I'm a little surprised that the wild card is that much more of a low percentage than the division. I know you got to jump multiple teams. Maybe the division is so high because they have 3 games remaining against the team sitting in front of them. So if they can run that table, then that changes the dynamic entirely.
Yeah, and DVOA is looking at things like schedule. And who's in front of them. And obviously we know what's in front of the Bengals, and it's not great. And we also know what else is in front of them, which is the teams that are in front of them. Kansas City and Baltimore, not even in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
So you got to hop over them, not to mention the teams that are already up there. So, yeah, I mean, I think right now, just find a way to win Sunday. It's like the old, you just have to focus very granularly, look at this next game, find a way to beat the Steelers, and then you can start talking about other stuff. You know, you can get to within a game. You've got the Ravens in front of you twice. You know, just win this one. Find a way to do that, and it feels a little bit more accessible. New England comes to town. Are you going to be able to beat New England? I don't know. But if you can beat Pittsburgh and you can find a way to beat Baltimore, you know, you're putting yourself in position with these division wins to make it relevant. It's just get yourself to 6-8, right?
Yeah.
Get yourself to 6-8 and then hit at Miami, Arizona, Cleveland, the last 3, and hope to make your push to 9-8 and hope that you have the tiebreaker. And maybe that's enough to get you in this year. It just might be, but that really starts with beating Pittsburgh. I don't know if I think I'm probably gonna go must-win armband on this one. Probably,
yeah.
Like,
you have to. They can't fall 3 back.
You can't be at 3-7 and 3 back, and it's just with what's in front of you. You have to beat a Steelers team that is certainly beatable right now, which they just did a couple of weeks ago. Let's see. What else do we got? Jay, you got some more stats for me?
Well, yeah, I've got good news on that because you posed the question to me, what's Mike Tomlin's record after a 14-point or more loss, because they just got their doors blown off against the Chargers. It's actually pretty good. It's 15-10 in his career. But lately, not good at all. Last year, Steelers were 10-3. They go to Philadelphia and lose 27-13. They rebound from that game by losing to Baltimore 34-17. They rebound from that playing Kansas City and they lose 29-10. So 3 straight losses of 14 or more. They play the Bengals in the finale and lose 17-19. Still, despite losing 4 in a row, they make the playoffs, where again they lose by 14, 28-14 to Baltimore. And then this year they've got the Chargers game where they lost by 14. They lost to Seattle by 14. They came back and beat New England the week after that. But there's a lot of 14-point losses here, 5 in their last 8 games. So not good for for the way the Steelers team is going. And last year I know is different from right now, but what I really I want to roll this stat into some trivia. So you sent me down a wormhole with this. I was like, well, what coach in NFL history has the most losses of 14 points or more? Who do you think that would be?
I mean, a part of me wants to say Dave Shula, but I know that that's not true because he didn't last long enough. But I'm sure he racked up a decent number. How about Don Shula?
No.
Just for longevity,
Yeah.
of coaching. I just feel like that just happens over the course of time.
Yeah, there is a guy that coached quite a bit.
Tom Landry.
No, this guy is known for mediocrity, basically, even though
Jeff Fisher.
Yes, Jeff Fisher, 66. He coached 339 games, so that's 6th all time. Number 2 on the list is Dan Reeves with 61. He coached 357 games, so he's 4th all time on games coached. Tom Coughlin in 3rd with 53. He's tied for 3rd. The man he's tied with is Sam Weish.
How about
Sam Weish only coached 191 games. That's 35th in NFL history. Sam Weish lost 28% of his games by 14 points or more. It's just that's insane.
That is insane.
Marvin's on the list with 41, Forrest Gregg 37, Bruce Coslet 35. You have to go all the way down. Dave Shula only had 17 losses of 14 points or more. Zach Taylor has had 19 already. He's lost 17.6% of his games by 14 or more.
Okay. Good stats. That's good trivia right there. I'm happy that Mr. Mediocrity did fire off the Jeff Fisher neuron for me. That is, I mean, sorry, Jeff. Like, that's tough.
That's what you're known for.
Jeff did a lot of great things. He was inches away from a Super Bowl.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you end up being known for being Mr. Mediocrity and always kind of having like one too many buttons undone, I feel like, on his shirt. That too. All right, let's go. Growler bet. Let's just throw in the Growler bet this week, Jay, before we even get to the prediction video. We've been you brought this up as we were kind of getting ready and trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and it's just perfect.
It is.
Miss tackles, right? We've got to go miss tackles.
Yeah, because the Bengals lead the league. Even after a bye week last week, nobody's going to catch them. They have 109. The next highest team is the Pittsburgh Steelers with 81. So the Bengals have a 28 missed tackle lead on them, which is insane. But the last time these two teams played, Bengals 13 missed tackles, Steelers 9, 22 missed tackles in that game. So that's got to be the Growler bet this week. We use Sport Radar as our official counter, and we will for the Growler bet. But how many missed tackles in this game? I feel like we probably need a tiebreaker.
I say we'll just do it. If it comes down to a tiebreaker, we'll have a revote amongst those that are in the tie. Maybe we'll have missed tackles for the following week against New England. Okay. It's always fun to rack up the missed tackles.
Yeah,
that's just it's a great fun game to play at this point. So yeah, we know tiebreaker. Just send us the number of missed tackles combined by the two teams in this game. And the official number will be the Sport Radar number that Jay has been putting out there, shaking up the NFL world with your Sport Radar missed tackle counts, by the way. That I have seen everybody aggregate that stat that you pulled out about how they had the top 3 missed tackle, which got players, whatever that number was. I should have it in front of me, but we had it on the show a couple weeks ago, and now everybody has put it out there everywhere.
Yeah, that got quite a bit of run. I was a little surprised by that, but a little happy when the check from Elon came in.
Yeah, that's great. You need that. Those engagement checks are nice. The Growler Podcast at gmail.com. Just send your submissions into there. You can continue to use hashtag Bengals Growler Bet for Elon on X if you want to. And drop them in there. We do check those as well. But, we love the funny subject headers. Give those people some shout out. And you can win drinks on us at our next live show, which is the Ravens game on the 14th. The one that maybe one of you is going to win free tickets to through our good friend Josh at Camargo Insurance. So, we certainly hope to see you there. I know I got an email back that we did have one listener that is going to be coming down to collect a previous Growler bet at that one, so you guys can form a table of free drinks on me. It's great, just great. So send those submissions in. All right, let's get to Arby's. Jay, what do you got for me?
Yeah, so going back to the watch party with our listeners, followers on Sunday, I kind of lost because I was with you. I thought I had the stat where the last 9 times both teams were coming off a bye. The under was 8-0-1, 15-2-1 in the last 18. So it's like, yeah, as part of your parlay boost, the under has to hit in that game, and the return touchdowns ruined that. The under did not hit, but I still came out a winner on Sunday because of all the prizes we had to give away. Paul still found a way to put on the prize wheel Hug Jay as a prize you could win when you spun it. I was thinking, oh no, I don't want to hug these people. I love you guys, but I don't want to hug strangers.
You don't want to hug anybody. It's not personal.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. So luckily nobody got, I mean, we said it, that wheel was spinning, it was smoking because there were so many touchdowns, and fortunately nobody landed on Hug Jay. Fortunately for them and for me, because they got much better prizes than hugging me.
It did multiple times land on Hug Charlie.
Yes.
Which I enjoyed, and Charlie had no clue was coming, and I really made it all that much better. Also I wanted to point out our friend Nate Erpenbeck, who was there. He had done a live Jaguars, a parlay of 3 games where he was thinking that they were all ahead and was counting on this parlay to hit. And the last one he thought he had to worry about was the Jags. And in fitting Growler fashion, that was so jaggy as the Jags blew his parlay. And then, just as the cherry on top, the Sheldon Rankins pick 6 kicker at the end. Talk about your bad beat grossness on that one.
Unreal.
So unfortunate for Nate, who was sweating. He one of the last ones left in the building, sweating out the end of that Jags game, and it was tough to watch. It was tough to see that for him. But thanks again to everybody that came out to that. Those things are fun. We tried something different. I really had a great time. It was cool getting to just kind of hang out with everybody a little bit more and have a little party rather than it be such a show. And so I think we're going to try to do more of those. And I hope we'll have more of you coming. And maybe I won't do it so that's every touchdown, maybe every other touchdown next time. I don't mind giving away all the prizes, but it happened very fast. But it was a great time for everybody. My Arbyes is kind of a little bit about Monday and the Joe Burrow reveal. They as part of that, they had to move some things around. So they moved Zach Taylor's press conference, which was originally going to be after a practice. These Mondays after bye week are weird anyway. It's like, okay, the locker room's going to be open, and then Zach was going to talk afterwards. And so, okay, so you're ready for that. And then we get a kind little text like, hey, in case don't miss this, but we moved Zach in front of the locker room. Now, when that happens, it's usually a lot of times it's the coaches now trying to get in front of a message of that he wants to say something before the locker room has to be asked about it. That has happened in the past whenever there's some kind of a big news or announcement or whatever. And with it came a little nudge of like, you'd also probably should try to be here by 1:00. And now I was like, wait, what's happening? Okay, what is going on? And there was no like, hey, because there was no tip off or anything like that. It was just, hey, it's at 1:30. You should probably try to be here by 1:00. Okay, something's happening. What is happening? Of course, you immediately get into your head, like, what is going down? And I start going through my list of things, and I'm like, what if it was Duke? That would be insane if they let go of Duke. And my first thought was, am I going to have to apologize to Mike Florio? I do not want to have to apologize to Mike Florio. No way. And I was like, and it was just the Burrow thing. But you just go into these places naturally when you're trying to think in your head what it is on the drive down. And I'm like, if I have to apologize to Mike Florio today, I'm going to be so pissed. Because I just, there's just no way, right? And there wasn't, and there's not. But anyway, just I couldn't help but relay that because that thought being in my head, I was like, I think people will appreciate that when you're like, just when you're forced to think that you might have to do something that you just really, really don't want to have to do one day, and then the relief finding out that it was nothing like that at all. It was a relief more than it was any excitement about the Burrow return news.
I was in an Arby's drive-through 35 minutes away from the stadium. I was like, well, I may not make it. And I didn't. I walked in and Zach had already started and I sat down and then he ended. It was like a 4-minute press conference. Basically, Burrow's coming back. That's it. Everybody on your way.
Yeah, well, because everyone needed to get down to the indoor to go see Burrow doing his thing, and so we were like, everyone was kind of looking at each other like, "Don't ask questions." And I think Zach Taylor was a little surprised when it ended. You just kind of standing there like, "Oh, that's it. All right, okay, sweet. Here I go." We're like, "Yeah, we have other places to be right now." But yeah, it was quite a day for Monday. And I like you should probably point out, I am positive that you weren't late because any issues with the Arby's drive-through. We know that they always work at the highest levels of efficiency, and you're not going to have any issue there.
No, it was just a long line. I thought I thought about just punting and getting out of line but I didn't. I stayed and got my fried turkey sandwich.
Of course you did. You're not getting out of that line. Let's be honest. Priorities are priorities, okay?
Right.
Not going for the steak nugs?
No. That's like a side dish, like a jalapeno poppers or French fries. That's not. I don't do those as a meal, and I didn't get them this time anyhow. I got the poppers.
Okay. Well, we've got a trip to Pittsburgh coming our way. I'm gonna guess there could be maybe a shared steak nugs amongst us potentially on this trip.
We should definitely do that.
All right. Thanks everybody for following along and for listening and watching. We will be back. Of course, we have plenty more coming to you this week. Who Dey Light prediction video to get you fully prepared for Bengals and Steelers on Sunday. Make sure you keep it locked to all the Growler socials on Instagram and X and everywhere else. And make sure you're getting those alerts on YouTube as well, so you know when one of our new shows comes out. So anyway, all right. Thanks everybody for watching and for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.